So what's this episode about? Well, it uses things like NLP, hypnosis, and things like that to demystify what some people make complicated. And I'm going to give you examples of how complicated things can be and how people can miss the mark and work on the wrong thing. And I'm going to give you a little saying, if you get it, you will always work with the right thing for you to get the results you want. Do have a listen. It's got so many golden nuggets in here. Well, you'll trip over them. So happy tripping. Have a listen after this. Hey, for those of you who don't know what this podcast's about, well, it's all about obviously personal development. Unplugged, why unplugged? Well, what we're going to do is break down, deconstruct all the things that are made bloody difficult by a lot of people. They tell you what they're doing, but they don't tell you how they did it. And that's what we're going to do, break down what they do into the hows and make wonderful changes. There'll be things that are stopping you, and we'll be helping you find out why that's happening and how can you change that. Because when you do, dreams become reality, and you then become a dreamer of big dreams, creating the most wonderful, brightest, most exciting new reality you can ever find. Anyway, that's it. Who am I? I'm Paul Clough. I am an NLP trainer, a master hypnotist. I do all sorts of things that will blow your mind. Come and enjoy it with me.
Warning. You are entering into the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. Too late.
Hey, my friends, how are you doing?
Personal Development
Paul here,
Unplugged.
Personal Development Unplugged. And I want to explore something with you. I want to explore something that seems to be missed by a lot of people. And it is so simple. Of course, it's not complicated, which is the negative way of saying, well, it's just simple. And in simplicity, there's genius. And as I said, so many people get this wrong. And I'm going to give you an example how experts get this wrong. Because I like to just give my two penneth of people who are doing great work, but sometimes they just, don't quite get it right, in my opinion. And I also want to, this is a little bit like an understanding. When you understand this principle, you'll get to understand what's happening in your life. And if we dive deeper, and if you follow me into those deeper subjects, it's not going to be on every episode, because I don't want to hit every deep subject. So you go, well, this is, okay, but I'm not that. But the thing is, you may know somebody who is suffering from things like loneliness, depression, all those negative things that you go, well, thank God it's not me. But I know somebody who is. Or you find out. So you've got something that you can share. But also, you never know. Sometimes things happen. But this little principle of mine doesn't have to be on the bigger stuff. And that's one of the stories I'm going to tell you about. In fact, a couple of stories I've got that will explain this principle. And I love this expression, and it's so good. Correlation does not equal causation. That's a lovely thing to say. But what I'm saying is, I want you to consider this. If you've got a feeling, a negative emotion, something's happening to you. If you were my client, I wouldn't work with that. You go, what? Because I have a principle. Never work with what comes through the door. What, Cluffy? What are you saying? I said, I never work with what comes through the door. I'm going to explain that a lot clearer. But first, here's that recent example I found. And it's how many experts, I think, sometimes get this wrong. And they'll explain things to you, and it seems so relevant. So that's the thing. And they're missing the point. So here I am. I'm wandering around, walking my dog as usual, get my earbuds in. I'm listening to this podcast, and it's all about it's sort of dealing with anxiety and things like that. So, and anxiety is the bane of most people's lives. It's there. We have to deal with it, but dealing with it in the right way. And there was some presenters and an expert. And it went a little bit like this. The guy was saying, well, I'm always working on my to-do list. It has a million things on, and it's really getting to me. I get so anxious. But here's the thing. The real problem is I just can't get to sleep. I get anxious. I get anxious when I go to sleep, or when I try to go to sleep. When I go to bed, I get so anxious. I think about so much. I'm always thinking about these things. And he said, my heart rate keeps going really fast. And that lack of sleep makes me so tired. And the more tired I get, the less things I get done. And the more things are on my list. So the list gets longer and longer and longer. And therefore, I just don't sleep. So, here we go. I don't know if you've got the answer, but here's what the answer was given by the experts. So, they say, so we have a real bad problem of sleeping then. And the other people and the host says, yeah, that's my problem. I just can't sleep. So, here's what to do. This is the answer to your problem. First of all, why don't you do some breath work before you go to bed? Breathe deeply. Maybe box breathing, which is breathing in, holding, breathing out, holding, breathing that way, or just going into your breath. Doing any kind of breath work will relax you. In fact, to relax, add stretching to that. And just stretch your body out. Maybe tense it, maybe then release it. Let the tension go. Maybe a little bit of meditation. A little bit of meditation before you go to sleep. Well, that one didn't go because the guy said, I'm so anxious. I've tried a bit of meditation, but my mind goes everywhere because I'm still so anxious. But the stretching, maybe I could listen to some calming music. Good idea, they say. Calming music will relax you. Maybe you could listen to one of those nighttime stories. The stories that just take you into a wonderful world where you can just close your eyes and sleep. Now, here's the thing. All seems pretty relevant, doesn't it? Got this problem, can't sleep. Let's deal with that can't sleeping problem. And in fact, one of my very first clients had this type of problem, and I did the very same thing. I tried to work on that sleeping. What a load of old rubbish I was then. Well, I wasn't. I was learning. I hadn't been taught what I taught myself about not working with what comes through the door. And also, I have to say, a lot of people still do this. And these people didn't. They worked with what came through the door. You see, all those things would have worked. They're all brilliant suggestions to be able to sleep if you're not anxious. And that was the problem. And if I had hair, if you've seen the photograph, well, a lot of the photographs have me with a hat on, but I haven't got much hair. But if I had hair, I'd pull the bloody stuff out. I really would. Because it's so... Well, when you get this principle about not working what comes through the door, it becomes so easy. So let's think about that. Never work with what comes through the door. What does this really mean? Because this is what I teach my practitioners. This is what I teach myself. Because this is exactly what I do. The client comes in, and this is the other story. This is a simple little story. A client came in and said, look, I've been promoted in my job. And this promotion means I've got to, in effect, do public speaking because I'm going to speak to clients, a large number of clients and a large number of my team. And I'm so scared. I have a real fear of public speaking and I need confidence. I just need confidence to stand up there and say things. So can you give me some confidence? Well, I could give you a process for confidence. And if you notice, I actually got a Supreme Inner Confidence program on my paulcloughonline.com, well, that site. And this isn't an advert for that, but even in that process, I go through letting go first of what the problem is about, and then build it forward to get the confidence. Because it isn't the confidence that that person needed. It isn't. You see, there's a reason why this person didn't like speaking in front of other people. His unconscious mind had something to do with it. You see, when we talked about this, things happened in his mind. He began to, well, I always say to my clients, as we talk and as I ask you these special type of questions, they might seem a bit weird sometimes, but just notice as you listen with all your senses. We've talked about that. Just notice what comes up. Sometimes you might have a memory, you might have something. And he said, you know what, Paul? You said that a little while ago. And I do this, that when we concentrate on that feeling, I did have a memory come up. But it wasn't to do with public speaking. Not at all. It's got nothing to do with it at all. So I've pushed it away a couple of times, but the bloody thing keeps coming up. So I said, well, let's just throw it out there and see what happens. And he said, well, I was about 7 and I was in this big room with loads of people and they wanted me to sing because I had quite a good voice. They wanted me to sing. So what they did was they picked me up and put me on a chair. And that wasn't tall enough. So they put that little chair on a table and I had to stand right at the top in front of everybody. And I got so embarrassed because I couldn't sing at all. And that embarrassment hurt me so much at that particular time. Sometimes we would call that maybe a significant emotional event. It doesn't have to be hugely, it hurt for a time, but he just got so embarrassed. And you see, there's that positive intention. Unconscious mind goes, do you know what? I'm going to protect you from that type of embarrassment. That type of embarrassment comes from putting yourself in front of people. But the thing is, way back then at the age of 7, how much experience did he have? Not a lot. How much wisdom did he have? Not a lot. So his unconscious mind says, I'm just going to protect you. Now this guy's around about 40 now. So it's 33 years gone by. He's got 33 years more experience. 33 years more wisdom. And also, he got promoted because he knows his bloody stuff. So, what we did, we got his unconscious mind to understand that actually he was more embarrassed about not being able to speak in public now. This public speaking to clients, to share what he knows. He was actually getting embarrassed because he was saying to people, maybe I can't even take this promotion and that's embarrassing. In fact, it's also stopping me getting a better, greater pay. It's my livelihood. It's my career. It's things I love to do. I love to share. And in fact, he felt more hurt by the embarrassment right then than he did when he was older, when he was younger rather. So it's like the unconscious mind, and just putting to the unconscious mind, do you realize what you're doing is actually totally in conflict because you're creating more hurt, more embarrassment when you're trying to protect this person from embarrassment and hurt. And it was like the light bulb went on, that internal aha moment. And all we had to ask was, could we protect this guy in a better way to allow him to speak and not get embarrassed? What would be a better way to be able to do that? And it was really just a case of getting to know that he knew his stuff, because he did. He was really, he told me about this stuff and I said, well, you seem really confident that you know it. He said, oh, I know it inside and out. Oh, yeah, I got confidence. And in fact, if I just explain that with the confidence I have about what I know, it would be awesome because people would learn from it. That's what they're coming to me for. They want to know about this stuff. So all I have to do is make sure that I prepare. Boom. So we did a process of allowing his unconscious mind to notice all the skills that he already had. Not the skill, because he didn't have them back then, and he was still running a process of a 7-year-old, which is what our unconscious minds do occasionally. We managed to get his unconscious mind to access all the skills he needed to be safe. And he said right at the very end, I feel so confident about going to speak to people. I'm looking forward to it. And you see, that's why sometimes you could say, well, have a mantra. I am confident, I am confident, I am confident, I am confident. Well, when you're not, It causes a conflict in itself. Deal with the cause. So the cause was fear of embarrassment. It's got nothing to do with having confidence. And when we do that, boom, we can access all the skills, and boom, once we've done that, we could have a mantra, I'm confident, but you don't need it because you're confident. So that's why I never work with anything that comes through the door. And I think that's what we do. Well, we do it as normal people. We get something, we have an issue, or we get a bad feeling, and so I just need some confidence. I just need this and that. Oh no, you see, let's go back to that first example. Was the problem lack of sleep? Of course it wasn't. Something was causing that person not to sleep. What was it? It was having, when you go right to the very beginning, it was in the very first sentence. I'm always working on my to-do list. I have 1,000,001 things to do. There's always something to add to it. That's the problem, because you cannot do 1,000,001 things. And if you write it down, your mind goes into overwhelm. Boom. Then we start worrying. How are we going to get all this done? The simple trick would be, just on that, and it's like a cognitive thing, you'd say, right, throw that list away. Put it to one side. What's the most important thing you could ever do? Out of all that list, if you just did the one thing, what would be the most important? Go ahead and do it. What's the next best thing? What's the next one thing that will make the most difference? Do it. It's a little bit like a rule of 3. You only pick 3 things to do in the day. The top 3 things that would allow you to have a great day. Probably you're only ever going to get those 3 things done. If you get more done, boom. But you've certainly got the best 3 things that will create a great day. It's in the question. What is the thing I could do that would create the most benefit in my life today? And we've got the answer. We've got the answer inside. We just need to do it step by step. And then maybe a little hypnosis process, I would have done probably, is to just get them to see themselves picking one particular thing, understanding what skills they needed to do that one particular thing, and then see themselves doing it successfully. And at the end of the day, guess what? They'd sit back just before they went to sleep and say, that was a great day. Great day. I'm satisfied with myself. I'm grateful. And they'd gone to sleep, to wake up the next day knowing that they're going to be successful again. But the thing is, sometimes that's a little difficult, because when you're in the swamp, it's difficult to notice you've got to clear the swamp because of the alligators or whatever that thing goes. But if you're in the problem, in the box, it's hard to get out the box to see what's happening. And that's where, if these things are really causing you problems, and this is a how part, we always give you a how here, none of this stuff where we just leave it. The how is, first one, if this is really giving you problems, I will always say, go and see a therapist. Go and get one-to-one therapy. I don't like talk therapies very much. I know there's a lot of talk therapy people, and some people get on really well with it, but I like to have a little action. And I believe hypnosis, NLP, timeline therapy, someone who does all of that can see this root cause, can give you the learnings or get you to learn at the unconscious level and find a process that will work. And it just seems to work really quickly. Therefore, you get on with your life. You deal with the issue and you get on. And the thing is, when you get on, it's those ripples of change that go so far and wide. Talk about it all the time. You'll never know how far those ripples of change will go, but they do. So not only do you resolve one issue in one particular context, but you tend to get other contexts of your life, at different areas of your life, seem to just improve as if by magic. So if you want to sit down for a spell with a therapist, or just sit down for a change with a therapist, they're all good ones because change works. Do that. I sometimes, because I like working on myself anyway, because I'm that type of person. But when I work with my sons, it's as if I just don't want to actually be lazy and say, well, you do it, because it's not a do-to process. It's a do-with process. So you have to put in and have the will to do whatever it takes. But at least they can guide me through the process and let my conscious mind and unconscious mind concentrate 100% without my trying to guide myself. So that's what you could do. Now, how do you know you need to go to a therapist? Well, if that thing is recurring and you haven't managed to deal with it, or what I'm going to talk you through doesn't seem to fly at the moment. Because sometimes things just change in an instant. You hear something, or you go through a little process, you read a book, and boom, something just changes inside you. And that's awesome. But sometimes you go, well, I've tried as best I can. Well, just go and find somebody to help you and just change quickly. Change can happen quickly, easily, and really comfortably. But hey, let's just talk through this first. I'll probably give you a little demo of it as well, so you can follow it with me. But what we're going to do, so you've got this feeling, you've got this thing going on. So instead of concentrating on the problem itself, what we're going to do is notice the feelings. I'm very much into noticing where feelings are in your body. You see, this means we're not trying to do anything with them. We're not going into any memories or anything like that. We're just noticing the feeling. Now, we don't need a 10 out of 10 feeling for this, because if you're feeling that way, just think back to a time when you had it just a little. But if you got the feeling, you got the feeling. So let's think about it. Can't do any harm. Never can do any harm. And by the way, I have to say this, I am a therapist. I'm not your therapist. So please just make your own decisions and be responsible for the things that you do. So I've already said about the one-to-one therapy. But here's the thing. We could just notice our feelings. Notice where they are in your body. We can notice the qualities of those feelings. And you might even say qualities of a negative feeling, Paul. Yeah, they have qualities. Every feeling has a quality. It has a weight. It has a shape. It might have a colour. It might have a temperature. They're the qualities, and they're like the submodalities of that quality. So you have feelings. What type of feelings? Does it have sounds? What type of the qualities of those sounds? Does it have, sometimes feelings may even have a taste or a smell. I don't know. Depends what comes to mind. And all we're going to do is acknowledge it. Because we don't accept things. I will always say, I don't accept a negative behavior, a limiting belief, but I will acknowledge it because I do know it's there, and I'll thank it for being there because I know they're just behaviors. And every behavior has a positive intention, especially, at the time, and it still has that wonderful positive intention, but the behaviors are no longer appropriate. This feeling is no longer appropriate. How do you know that? Because it ain't bloody working. So we don't accept it. We just acknowledge it. Thank it. Thank your unconscious mind for doing something for you. We don't know what it is, maybe. Sometimes you may get a little insight, a bit of intuition, but it doesn't matter. We're not looking for insights and intuition. We're doing this really totally content free for the moment. And we're going, okay, I acknowledge you. I've gone through those modalities or the submodalities. I get to understand it. I know where you are. If a label comes to mind, you can label it. Sometimes labels are good. I know when I've had feelings and I've got a sort of label in my mind, it's quite revealing, really, because you think it's one thing and this little label comes up and say, no, it's this. And you go, oh, wow, that makes sense now why I'm not doing things, why this feeling has stopped me doing things. So you start to get to understand the positive intention. But we don't need that. Not for this particular exercise. We're not going there. But if you want to ask, you could just put your attention into that feeling. Again, just acknowledging it and thanking it and saying, thank you for doing what you're doing, but with this feeling and those behaviors attached to it, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to protect me from? And don't intellectually think this through. This is not an intellectual exercise. This is about just going with your intuition. So we'll do this together, I think, after this. May even put it onto a separate track. We'll see as well, but we'll do that. And then you just notice what comes to mind. And then we're going to ask our unconscious mind, because knowing it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's not getting the result. Whatever your unconscious mind is intending for you by having this negative feeling, this negative belief will be under there as well. Negative behaviors, the things that are causing you not to feel so good, not do stuff. It's not working anymore, like that guy who wanted supposedly confidence. So we just ask. We ask our unconscious mind to do something. And the question would be something like this. What skills, wisdom, emotions and beliefs could we use to get the result that you want, that positive intention, keeping that intention, but allowing me to feel comfortable, to be able to do the things I want and keep me safe? Because there is a conflict here. And just ask your unconscious mind to learn from it at the unconscious level. And then what we could do, we can just use our imagineering. Our imagineering, because knowing that you don't have to deal with all this stuff, you can just imagine and visualize how you want it to be. What this feeling is stopping you doing, what you want to do, but imagining it going really well, successfully, and being comfortable, and you learning along the way. So, hey, why don't we do that now? And I don't know how good this will be because it's coming straight off the top of my head, and then maybe I'll do an actual separate track for it. So if you've got the time and you're in a place where you'll be undisturbed, always come back to this, remember, just notice a minute where we are in the podcast. But if you've got that time, you're going to be undisturbed. You're not going to be hypnotized or anything like that. You'll be going inside, which is a form of hypnosis, I guess. But we're not going to go into anything deep. I just want you to stop for a moment. Make yourself comfortable. Take a nice deep breath. And let it out. And all this is just setting our scene, as it were. And just remember what comfortable feels like. Remember a time when you were really comfortable. Relax and you learned something maybe. And feel that way again. And your intention. Just set your intention. Your intention is to just find a better way. A better way to do what you want to do and feel safe. And do it in alignment, as it were, with your unconscious mind. And then as you do that, you don't have to close your eyes, but you could close your eyes now. And become aware of that feeling. That's right. Just notice that feeling. Where is it in your body? And as you notice that location, put your awareness into it. Be curious. Where is it in my body? Where's the center? How big is this feeling? Is it really small? Or does it expand? So if I could put my attention into the middle and the edge, just to notice that feeling. Doing nothing with it, but just being curious. Does it have a weight? Or maybe it's just like a neutral. Does it have a temperature? Is it hot? Is it cold? Does it vibrate? Does it move? Maybe you can understand the direction in which it cycles, because every emotion seems to just going in a circle. Does it have a colour? Or maybe it has colours. Do those colours change? Does it vibrate? Just be curious to explore the qualities of this feeling. And as you do that, we are just simply acknowledging that it's here. And maybe just thank your unconscious mind, because you know it's doing it for a positive reason. But we just know there's a conflict. And by understanding this, the conflict can just disappear. And as you do that, maybe you get a label for this feeling. Maybe it's, I'm not going to say anything, just notice what comes to mind, because if it comes to mind, it comes to mind, and if it doesn't, then that's fine. And then with your internal voice, or let my voice go inside, just ask, what feelings are you protecting me from? What are you protecting me from? And just notice if it's okay with you, the unconscious mind, and it's safe to do so. Allow that answer to bubble up into the conscious mind. So what feelings are you protecting them from? So they can consciously just understand, because understanding and having that knowledge can help so much. But I want you, the unconscious mind, at the unconscious level, to notice what you're protecting them from. Because you'll notice now the feelings that you're protecting them from are the same as the feelings that they have right now. In fact, they're probably worse. And I know you're not intending that. In fact, you're intending the opposite. So as you notice the conflict, trying to do those wonderful things for them, I'm going to ask you this one question. What skills, wisdom, emotions, beliefs can you use instead of the old way to get your result, to keep your positive intention and allow them to feel good and comfortable? And as you, the unconscious mind, is doing that, I want you just to visualize, imagineer, see yourself over there going through one of those type of events. If it was to happen in the future, just imagine going through that event exactly the way you want to be, having all the skills, the wisdom, the emotions and beliefs that would support you to feel comfortable and successful, to enjoy that process. And maybe invite your unconscious mind to add to it too, to make it even more better. So you can both learn at the conscious and the unconscious level of how to do these things, these behaviors, in such a way that you can enjoy and be comfortable. And I wonder, I really wonder what it would be like if these wonderful skills were to generalize, to go into different areas of your life, to make even those areas of your life even more better. Maybe just saying those words, this or something better. And then we leave it to your unconscious mind. So just say thank you. Thank you to your unconscious mind, your best friend. And then just take a deep breath with me. Let it out. And just let everything go. Open your eyes. If you did close your eyes, open your eyes, come back to me. Look around. See everything. If you're sitting down, stand up. If you're standing up, sit down. Or jump up and down. Turn around. Shout yeehaw or whatever, just to feel differently. And then notice. Just notice what you think. Well, notice how you feel. Notice when you think of that old issue, what happens now? And then all you have to do is review. So go through your days as normal and just review back again. You can always come back to this. And I think I probably will make a separate process of this, or cut this out and put it into the hypnosis tracks. So you can have this just the track without all trying to find the right minute for it. That might be easy for you. But when you think about this thing, correlation does not equal causation. It doesn't. And what we've just done is not complicated. It's simple. It follows that principle. Do not work with what comes through the door. And all you do and have to feel is thoughtful and curious. Because there's always a way. There's always a way. It's a simple way when we look for it. And for me, when I think about this, why was this important to me? Well, it just keeps remembering, re-remembering as it were, this thing about not working with what goes through the door. I know I don't, but it's good to remember these things. And forget the things you don't need to remember, and only remember the things that your unconscious mind is important to you. And if you do, well, I've got a number of things you can do. Remember those going and seeing somebody, if you want. You can always see me. I work online with so many people all over the world. So there's an opportunity there, but there's people close by as well. There's also that Supreme Inner Confidence on my paulcloughonline.com site. Have a look at that. It's not, it might say 30 day money back guarantee, but all you have to do is tell me that you've been a podcast listener, get it words right, Paul, and you've got money back guarantee, full stop. So all you've got to do there is, what have you got to lose? Only your lack of confidence and your low self-esteem. And then you'll be able to tackle anything. And it's so cheap. It is cheap. Some of the videos aren't that good, but the actual processes, they're spot on. So something to think about. And if you got something from this golden nugget, I know there's more than one golden nugget in all of this, then please share them. Share them with me. I'd love to hear about the things that you got from this. So that's at feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. Your email address will go nowhere. It won't even go into my list. It just gets a reply from me personally. If there's something you want to explore, do the same thing, same email. But also, please, share these golden nuggets. Share the podcast. It will make a difference to this world. And by God, we need to make a difference with this world at the moment. I'm going to do a little talk on that one as well. But hey, things don't have to stay the old way. If they're not comfortable, let's change them. Because you can. Sit down for a spell. Sit down for a change. And it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be. It is not painful if you do it right. It doesn't have to be painful at all. It can be a comfortable change, just as we did there. And with that, you can have more fun than you can stand. I'll say that again to be clear. You can have more fun than you can stand. And you can enjoy every heartbeat. And if you don't, boom, we do a process like this. So until next time, my friend, find passion and wallow in it. Have fun now. And I'll see you, hear you, speak to you very soon. Bye-bye now. If you're suffering from things like anger, excessive anger in your life, too much sadness that keeps recurring and recurring, fear of anything, or just grieving too much about loss, maybe you're jealous, or maybe your self-confidence it's never high enough, or like your self-esteem, that's never high enough, and it should be, and you shouldn't have to suffer through anger, sadness, fear, grief, jealousy. Do you know what? I hadn't thought about this for a little while, but why don't you come and work with me? Because, I've told you before that I work online, I do coaching, I do therapy online, but I've never really thought about offering it directly to you. So why not? Don't listen to what other people say when they say, things take such a long time, because they don't. 2-3 sessions is generally all that's needed to get rid of some of the biggest problems in people's lives. I see it day in, day out with my clients. So if that's something you can consider, because I do know this, that we always put things off. We put things off, and then we'll go to that bit where we go, if only I did. So here's the thing. Imagine that putting off has gone by, and you've decided to send me an email at feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com saying, "Hi Paul, I've got this issue. I'd like to work with you, and here's my telephone number, here's my email address." And the thing is, what would happen is we get in contact over the internet, online. We do an initial consultation. It doesn't take very long to make sure that we're a good fit and make sure you're really comfortable with me. I know you've listened to me a lot, but you really want to see the whites of my eyes, and let me explain how we work together. And if that is right, and it's right for you, and I want to make sure it's right for you, I don't work with just anybody and everybody, only the people who I feel I can really help, then we'll organise 2 or 3 sessions and get the thing sorted. Okay? So why not send me that email now? Don't think any longer. Stop. Get online. Give me an email, and let's do some work together. If you really are interested in making deep changes, I really always suggest one-to-one. Yes, this Personal Development Unplugged podcast gives you all the tools, but let's get rid of the deep underlying issues so you can really make use of all the tools here. Anyway, that's enough from me. If you want it and you want to let go of that stuff really quickly, and you like me, and you'd like to work with me, then send me that email. If it's not for you, that's fine. Just keep listening and keep sharing. Okay? Anyway, I'll hear from you real soon, I'm sure. See you now.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.